skeptics accuses the Psalms of desiring the unnecessary brutal deaths of infants. Let us quote the psalm in context, to see what in fact the psalmist meant.
By the rivers of Babylon we sat and wept, when we remembered Zion. There, on the poplars, we hung our harps, for there our captors asked us for songs. Our tormentors demanded songs of joy. They said, "Sing us one of the songs of Zion." How can we sing the songs of the Lord while in a foreign land? If I forget you, Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its skill. May my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth. If I do not remember you, if I do not consider Jerusalem my highest joy. Remember, Lord, what the Edomites did on the day Jerusalem fell. Tear it down, they cried. Tear it down to its foundations. Daughter Babylon, doomed to destruction. Happy is the one who repays you according to what you have done to us. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks.
When the psalm is read in context, we discover that the psalmist was asking that justice be served. The psalmist was echoing the following Mosaic injunctions, where the punishment of a criminal must match the crime that he or she committed, no more no less.
Anyone who takes the life of someone's animal must make restitution, life for life. Anyone who injures their neighbor is to be injured in the same manner, fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. The one who has inflicted the injury must suffer the same injury. Whoever kills an animal must make restitution, but whoever kills a human being is to be put to death. Show no pity. Life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot.
It was a common practice for invading armies to kill and dash children and women, as the following Old Testament citations show.
Hazael went to meet Elisha, taking with him as a gift 40 camel loads of all the finest wares of Damascus. He went in and stood before him and said, "Your son Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, has sent me to ask, will I recover from this illness?" Elisha answered, "Go and say to him, you will certainly recover. Nevertheless, the Lord has revealed to me that he will in fact die." He stared at him with a fixed gaze until Hazael was embarrassed. Then the man of God began to weep. "Why is my Lord weeping?" asked Hazael. "Because I know the harm you will do to the Israelites," he answered. "You will set fire to their fortified places, kill their young men with the sword, dash their little children to the ground, and rip open their pregnant women." Hazael said, "How could your servant, a mere dog, accomplish such a feat?" "The Lord has shown me that you will become king of Aram," answered Elisha. "But you have planted wickedness, you have reaped evil, you have eaten the fruit of deception. Because you have depended on your own strength and on your many warriors, the roar of battle will rise against your people, so that all your fortresses will be devastated, as Shalman devastated Beth Arbel on the day of battle, when mothers were dashed to the ground with their children. So will it happen to you, Bethel, because your wickedness is great. When that day dawns, the king of Israel will be completely destroyed." Yet she was taken captive and went into exile. Her infants were dashed to pieces at every street corner. Lots were cast for her nobles, and all her great men were put in chains.
Interestingly, Isaiah even predicted that Babylon would also be ravaged, and have their children dashed to pieces in the same way they had done to others.
Whoever is captured will be thrust through, all who are caught will fall by the sword. Their infants will be dashed to pieces before their eyes, their houses will be looted, and their wives violated. See, I will stir up against them the Medes, who do not care for silver and have no delight in gold. Their bows will strike down the young men, they will have no mercy on infants, nor will they look with compassion on children. Babylon, the jewel of kingdoms, the pride and glory of the Babylonians, will be overthrown by God, like Sodom and Gomorrah. She will never be inhabited or lived in through all generations. There no nomads will pitch their tents, there no shepherds will rest their flocks, but desert creatures will lie there, jackals will fill her houses. There the owls will dwell, and there the wild goats will leap about. Hyenas will inhabit her strongholds, jackals her luxurious palaces. Her time is at hand, and her days will not be prolonged.
Hence, the psalmist was not being cruel in his request, but was demanding what God's law required. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, etc. Again, the psalmist is not literally requesting the brutal deaths of children, but is asking that justice be served. This can be easily seen from the phrase, dashing them against the racks. Stones. As anyone familiar with Babylonian geography can tell you, there were no rocks and stones in Babylon. As noted Old Testament scholar Walter C. Kaiser Jr. writes, surely someone who goes about stealing babies and slamming them down on the pavement, or over a rocky embankment is more than a brute, but is that what we have here? Not at all, for the expression is a hyperbole, typical of the emotional Near East, which consciously exaggerates. The writer, however, locates this psalm in Babylon. One thing Babylon is devoid of is rocks or rocky cliffs. This is so different from Palestine, where rocks are all over the place, but not in Babylon. If one were to build in Babylon, he would need to bake mud bricks first. Rocks or stones simply do not exist there. Thus, the text is clearly a poetical cry for righteous retribution, that is due to them as they did to others, and not a literal description of the kind of punishment to be inflicted on Israel's enemies.